Welcome everyone to Real Talk with DMJ. Well, my guests I have here today, entrepreneur, realtor, doing the damn thing. My guests, I want to welcome to Real Talk with DMJ, Ronnie Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to come on here and just have a real conversation with you.
Yes. Well, you know, when I'm speaking with you,
Yeah.
and you were sharing your story, I was so fascinated. And someone had taken the journey that you've taken and where you are today. I'd like to talk about and share with our audience your story, your journey, how you got there.
Okay.
And so my thing about, being incarcerated, how you overcame that, because other individuals know it can be done.
Yeah.
They need to hear your story, your life, and know that the system does not have to control your future.
Right.
So definitely. So can we go ahead and start with how you got, when you were incarcerated,
Yeah.
how you did the mind changing?
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So when I was a kid, I was lost. I moved up here from Tennessee, right? And I left behind a host of family. So when we came to Bremerton, Washington, we didn't know very many people. And so I was struggling with the dynamics of leaving the South and coming to Washington where everything is integrated. In the South, there's real racial lines, right?
Yes.
And so I wasn't even allowed to have a white friend when I was in Tennessee.
Oh.
And so my first real interaction with a different race was when I came up here. So as a result, I struggled in, middle school because I started at the 6th grade in Bremerton, Washington. And I struggled to, make friends, to integrate. I just felt out of sorts. It was a real cultural shock for me. And from there, I met a group of guys who were living in single family homes. Their father was absent from their life. And we all kind of meshed together and taught us all the wrong things. And, from there, I start spiraling, just getting in trouble, in and out of juvenile, start selling drugs, joined a gang. And by this time, I believe I was 19 or 20. I made a transaction with this guy from Seattle. I gave him $5,000 for a quantity of drugs that I was going to purchase and then resell. But he never brought me what he was supposed to bring me. And I started looking for him, and I found him one day. We had a brief conversation, and I ended up shooting him twice in Tacoma. And so I went away for 23 years for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you this. Was he killed?
No.
I'm going to go back a little bit.
Okay.
When you said you had moved into the man who had he was a single father, and he taught you guys bad things.
Well, it wasn't a man. It was just a young friend that I met at school. He was like the first black kid that I really gravitated to in this new community. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, because when you said taught you bad things, I always like to look at it survival skills. Survival of the fittest. I mean, sometimes I know that wasn't good, but sometimes that's we do what we know.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, I was in survival mode.
Yeah. Okay, I would say that definitely. So, when you did the 23 years, what was your experience adapting to that culture?
Well, initially when it happened, you're just, you're devastated. You're devastated. At 21 years old, you can't even imagine serving. My original sentence was 30 years. It got reduced to 27. I ended up serving 23, but you can't even project that far into the future. You're only 21. How can you imagine what life is like when you're 50, right? Yes. So I was just completely devastated, and I went into the system, still pretty much the same, misguided, angry young man. And I remember having a conversation with my cellie about what had transpired that got me sent to prison. And he suggested that maybe, I should go talk to a counselor, a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever have you. So I took his advice. I went and talked to the psychologist, and he, basically over 6 months, the time we deconstructed my life. And eventually he told me, there's nothing psychologically wrong. Like I'm, but you did have a hard life, and I'll just be here to assist you in unraveling that so you can begin to heal. But unfortunately, he called me up one day and said the state said he couldn't have these conversations with me anymore because he wasn't treating me with medication. And so that what would I say, aborted my healing process, because I had begun at that point. I'm unraveling all the things that got me sent away, right?
Yes.
And so, they told him he couldn't see me anymore because he wasn't prescribing me any medication. And then from there, I just kind of wallowed around for a couple years, going through my mind, not really being responsible for what I had did, because I was thinking that woulda, coulda, shoulda. I just kept replaying what I could have did differently so I didn't get sent away. But then I came to a point, it's like, Ronnie, you're just going to drive yourself crazy because there's so many variables right there, right?
Yes.
You have 30 years. This is what you have. Fight to get your freedom back. And in the meantime, try to become a different person while you're in here.
Yes.
So that's what I eventually set out to do.
Okay, so can you tell us your journey on how you set out to do that?
Yeah.
How you were changing your mindset?
So I began to journal. And just write down daily what was occurring in my life and share my thoughts on paper. And what helped me open up my mind is I started also reading early childhood psychology books to kind of backtrack and get to the root of why did I shoot someone. Like, what was going on with me that I deteriorated to the point where I was so callous to shoot a guy. I wasn't high. I wasn't on drugs. That was just.
So you became your own therapist?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I had to unpack that, right? And it basically what it boiled down to was like, violence is okay in our community. Well, that's what I was taught. It's not okay, but it is okay because it's an accepted way of surviving when you're running the streets, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But because I had spent so much time in the streets, I didn't have coping mechanisms to deal with anger and frustration and process that as a normal human being. And so when you can't get that out in a normal way, it comes out destructive. I think you can identify with that.
Oh, yes, of course, even, with myself.
Yeah.
Yes. So now you're a businessman.
Yeah.
You're a very good product of our environment. What we look for are young Black men. You don't think you're young, but I think you're young. And so my thing as your journey, because you were sharing with me as we were conversating yesterday evening about how you started regulating your mind. You told me you were talking to yourself. You started reading books.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Let's share.
So let's say as far as talking to myself, I think inside of every individual, there's still, like for me, there's little Ronnie. And there was something that little Ronnie needed back in 1980 and 81 and 82. So I give myself those messages now. Like when I was in prison, there was a time where I didn't see, no one came to see me there was a stretch about 3 to 4 years where I didn't see anybody. And I was writing this poem and I said, sometimes you have to hug yourself when there's no one else around.
Yes.
And so what I mean by that is you have to love on yourself. That self-talk is real. You have to love on yourself and give yourself the encouragement and support.
Yeah, I do that all the time with myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because sometimes that extra voice is not going to be around. And so you have to feed your mind and help heal. Yeah.
And you have to encourage yourself. That's one of my favorite gospel songs, encourage yourself.
Yeah.
And I find myself, I have to encourage myself daily. And especially sometimes throughout the day, because sometimes I can have a real tough day.
Yeah.
Definitely just to get myself through that. And with all the barriers and the people that come after me, I'm always have to encourage myself.
Yeah.
But still, the man and the stuff that you're doing now, your journey, I'd like to hear how you started, became a realtor. I would love to share your story and tell everybody you didn't let the system beat you.
No.
No. you did just the opposite. And I think the Department of Corrections need to know how you did that from within.
Yeah.
Their tools that they had did not help you
No.
in the prison system.
No.
How you took that and took those books and reinvented yourself.
Yeah.
And so I'd like for you to share that and hear that, because believe you me, they're going to hear.
Okay. So people ask me all the time, what's your favorite book? Well, when I was in prison, I read over 1,200 books. So it's kind of hard, but I'll talk to you about 2 books that really had a profound impact and effect on my life. The first one is a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And so there's a line in that book where he says, a man's outer circumstances is a reflection of his inner thoughts. And just that right there just blew my mind open. I mean, when I read that, I kept reading it just over and over and over and over. And it's weird, but I was like, so my thoughts got me here? So my thoughts created this? It was just so foreign to me because I had just been going through life just doing what others were doing, not really understanding the power of my mind to change and create. And so when I read that, I mean, it just flipped my whole world upside down. I just started analyzing everything. So that was the genesis of me embracing a new identity and leaving my old life behind. The second book was Malcolm X's autobiography. There were so many parallels in his life and my life. And, you know, prior to us reading this book, like I said, before I went to prison, I had only read one book. So when I read Malcolm's book, I see he dropped out of school. I dropped out of school also. He was undereducated, I was undereducated. But what Malcolm showed me was how to use my time to educate myself, because that's what he did. And when he came out, he rose and became a great speaker. And I took that page from him too. So I self-educated. I would take the classes that DOC provided for me, like the vocational classes. But when I got out of class, that's when I read the psychology and sociology and neuroscience books so I can understand, you know, what I was capable of, understand my brain power. But another thing that he showed me is that when you can communicate with people and you can connect with other people's, those are some valuable skills that we were never taught. So the ability to connect with people is what has allowed me to be successful inside there and when I came home.
Okay, so when you were inside, it sounds like you started reinventing yourself.
Yes.
And you started reinventing your inner self first. And it seemed like you were your own therapist.
Yes.
Because they weren't giving you what you needed.
No.
So you took upon yourself to give yourself what you needed and to find out who you were.
Yes.
So my thing is, did you put your business plan together while you were incarcerated?
So DLC did provide a business management class for me, but I wrote a business plan. So initially I thought I was gonna come home and establish a solar panel company because I could see how the world was moving towards renewable energies. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
So I was trying to forecast years ahead so when I come home I could be ready, right?
Yes.
And somebody told me this gentleman had worked on Wall Street and that he was very, business savvy. So I didn't know him, but I took my business plan for the solar panel company and had him look at it. And he told me it was great idea, and I think you're on to something. And from that meeting and conversation with him, he became a great mentor for me. But he's the one who introduced me to the Wall Street Journal, the stock market, and he began to have those conversations with me about real estate. And then from there, I started reading every real estate book that I can get my hands on. I bought the books to study for my exam while I was in there because I kept hearing that people say it was so hard to pass this real estate exam, right? And I hear people take it twice and 3 times, and I was like, well, if I take it, it's only going to be one time. I'm going to make sure I pass this. So I used my time educating myself about real estate because I realized I had been gone for so long.
Yes.
And if I came home and worked a normal job, I would be working until I die, essentially, because I hadn't made any money to make up for those 23 years.
Yes.
And so I realized that real estate is, not only great industry, but a great wealth builder as well.
I am really proud. I am. So as you doing that, and we have all these other little gangbangers out here in the community, where do you find yourself giving back and helping those?
Yeah.
And what can you tell us that are leaders out here that are saying that we're helping our young people and our young men of color?
Yeah.
Where do we start? How do we help them? What advice would you give us to begin to stop them from going down that road?
So from my point of view, like, people leave home and join gangs because there's something missing. Mm-hmm. And you have to find out what that is for each individual and see if you could somehow fill that gap, right? Mm-hmm. Because being part of a gang, it's a brotherhood. It's an extended family. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a breakdown at home, and if I'm not getting the love, I don't have the resources I need, I don't have the things I need to even begin my school day, that's going to create a situation where you're sending a young child into the school system where he's supposed to, a safe haven, supposed to perform and get education. But if you send me to school unprepared and having these feelings of insecurity, then that creates a situation where a child tries to figure out adult problems. And that's where somebody needs to step in and have conversations.
And and I agree with you, but my thing, I see that we always want to start with the middle school child. I think it starts in elementary.
Yeah, I think that's too late.
Yes.
I think that's too late to start interjecting in somebody's life.
Yes.
I think if a kid is growing up in a particular situation, mm-hmm. then you need to start having those conversations, because at that point, they're what we call at risk, or there's factors going on in this child's life that's gonna maybe cause them to go down a different road. As parents, as school teachers, as members in the community, we should pay attention to kids and give them the help when they need it, not wait too late.
Yeah, because I think middle school is too late. Like right now in our middle school, I was so shocked when I found out we had a pregnancy clinic, in the middle school. I mean, that just really threw me, but I'm glad we do have it there, because some things start in 3rd and 4th grade.
Yeah.
Like I'm a child molested, when I was in elementary school, coming up all through elementary. I think we need to start teaching and grabbing our young people and our children in elementary school and dealing with those families. Understand those kids that are acting out. There's something going on there.
There's something definitely going on, yeah.
And it's not, like you said, it is too late, in junior high school.
Well, let me retract. Okay. I don't think it's too late, mm-hmm. but it shouldn't begin in middle school, because by the time you go to middle school, some behaviors have already begun to nurture.
Mm-hmm. So, if you can share with us, how has your business flourished?
Oh man, when I came home, it was just, I think I made the right decision by not coming.
What year did you come home first, for the viewers can know?
2020.
2020. Yeah. So tell us where you are now. We really need to know this now.
I have, because
you're doing the damn thing.
Yeah, my journey coming home was it was just wow. So I came home. I went to a work release in Olympia. I was there for 6 months. When I came there, you have to supposedly get a job within 30 days, right?
Yes.
But I was so determined to become a real estate agent. I come after 22 years in prison, I come in there. They're like, Jackson, you need to go find a job. I said, yeah, I'm going to be a real estate agent's assistant until I pass my exam. They said, you're going to do what?
Yes.
I said, yeah, I want to be a real estate agent's assistant until I pass my exam. And I was like, McDonald's is hiring. You can go down there and get a job. But I was just determined that I had put so much time into my studying while I was away, and I knew what I wanted. I didn't take those kind of jobs. But instead, I went to I found a job at a car dealership.
Yes.
I started in detail, washing cars. A 45-year-old man washing cars, and I was making maybe $1,100, $1,200 a month. So I did that, and then I promoted to the internet sales, where I answered the phones and set appointments for people who wanted to come look at cars. I did that. My income bumped up to about $3,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And after 6 months of that, they said, okay, we're going to put you on our sales floor. And so I was happy. I was excited because that's what I wanted, right?
Yes.
My first month, I made $9,500.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then the third month, I made $18,500. So it took me 3 months to become the top salesperson there. And then I worked that job for about 18 months.
Yes.
My first year, I made $300,000 selling cars.
Oh, yes.
My second year, I made $360,000 in 6 months.
Shut up.
Yes, I did.
See, I knew you was doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
I did.
They said, Ronnie Jackson, you got to get him. Yes.
Yeah. And then one day I came to work and they told me they was changing the pay plan.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to change the pay plan and cut my pay by 50%. That's real talk.
No, that's
real
I saw
talk.
you looked up there. That's real talk.
Yeah, that's real talk.
So what did you do?
Hey, listen, I you know what they say, if you're not willing to stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jackson was not falling for that. Not at all. So I told him, like, hey, I'm not accepting that pay. And well, they didn't know that I had passed my realtor's exam.
Yes.
And so when that happened, I just thought, you know, it was God speaking to me.
Yes, it was time.
Pushing me in the direction that I had wanted anyways. And so I left my job, and for 8 months, I didn't receive a paycheck. From June, I left my job in June, and I didn't get a paycheck till March. And I tell you, Deborah, it was a tough time. I mean, I had saved my money. I had saved my money from the job, but psychologically and mentally, it was challenging because, you know, I was so successful at what I was doing. I was selling cars every day, and now to just live off my savings and, you know, not interacting, being in front of customers, because I love my job. I love meeting new people every day. I love helping them find the vehicle that they
So let's
love.
go more into the real estate.
Yeah.
So you, when did you started selling houses, flipping houses?
So I left there in June. I didn't get started until probably September, October 2022. So 2 years after I came home, I was fully involved in real estate. Yeah.
And I see that's been very successful for you.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes. One thing I have to say about you that you didn't, and Pastor Dr. Frankie Coleman always says, don't let your past determine your future.
Yeah.
And you did not let your past determine your future.
No.
And that's a message we can definitely send out there.
Yeah.
Wow, you have such an incredible story. You know, you really need to write a book. And I am so connected. I just got connected. I belong to the Bremerton Rotary Club.
Okay.
And one of our men, I think he does a show here too, wants me to go ahead and write a book about my life and my story. But my goodness, for men of color,
Yeah.
that has taken your path, you know, incarceration, and then came out doing the damn thing. You didn't let your past determine your future.
Nope.
And I think you could write a book about that.
Yeah.
About your struggles.
Well, I have. I've written, but I'm looking for an editor.
We're connected. Oh my goodness. I'm going to bring you next to my next Rotary Club meeting
Okay.
on Monday. Okay. And get you connected.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Because I know you're doing the damn thing in real estate.
Yeah.
And I am so proud of you and to working with our young men. You know, we're going to really have you back again. I mean, and we would like to share with us about your book.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And get you in our school systems.
Yes, I would really like to speak.
To meet our superintendent. He's a Bremerton. He graduated from Bremerton High School.
Okay.
He's been an assistant, Dr. James Crawford, and you'd be one because what you've done is incredible. You know, a lot of people out here doing nonprofit work, doing that, but you went in and then went in and made a plan and saw your plan through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And still working your plan and you're flourishing.
Yes.
And our young people, and even not just our young people, me, others, that's encouragement.
Yeah.
No, that is encouragement. I mean, we need to hear your story, share your story, and have you do some speaking.
I love
Yes,
to.
definitely.
Anytime.
Yeah, Washburn, Garrido, the mayor, them, they need to connect with you.
Okay.
You know, down there in Commerce, and Kendrick and all them. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. But we thank our viewers for tuning in with my special guest, Ronnie Jackson.
Thank you.
This is a phenomenal Black man, and I'm really happy to share his story and to have him on. But I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to have him back on again because there's more to him than we've seen today. Once again, welcome for tuning in and viewing with us on Real Talk with DMJ.